Here we have a problem on percentage. Okay, let's go over the question. Given that P is 50% larger than R and Q is 20% larger than R, then P is what percent larger than Q? Okay, here both P and Q are compared to R. So, but the value of R is not given. Since this is a problem based on percentage, we can assume that R as 100. So how can I assume that the value of R is 100? Actually, R is an unknown quantity. I can assume any value for R. So, but particularly, why do I assume 100 for R? Because it's a problem based on percentage. Percentage means it's compared to 100. So whenever there is a problem like this one and there is an unknown quantity, always we have to assume it as 100 so that it will be easier for us to do further calculation because this problem is completely based on percentage. So, okay, now we have assumed R is equal to 100. So that the value of P is equal to what? It's 50% larger than R. 50% larger than R means that if you increase the value of R by 50%, so you'll be getting the value of P. Since the R value is increased by 50% to get the value of P, what I need to do is I have to add this 50 to 100 percentage times the value of R, which is 100. So here I'm adding this 50 to 100 because larger than means like it is increased. Since it is increased, I'm adding this 50 to 100. What if it is less than instead of larger than? That means it will be decreased. In that case, I'm have to subtract over here. Okay, so since the value of R is increased by 50%, get the value of P, I'm adding 50 to 100% times the value of R. Okay, so 100 plus 50 will become 150% times 100. So if I convert this 150% to decimal, it will be just 1.5 because already we know that percent means is compared to 100. 150% means is 150 has to be compared to 100. That means this 150% can be written as a fraction with the denominator 100. So 150 over 100 will become just 1.5. Okay, now let's plug in 1.5 for this 150%. Then I'll be getting 1.5 times 100. So 1.5 times 100 will become just 150. So if R is equal to 100, then the value of P is 150. Okay, now let's find the value of Q because Q is also connected to R over here. Okay, let's do it. So Q equals to get the value of Q, what I should do? So here 20% larger than R, that is if the value of R is increased by 20%, we'll be getting the value of Q. Since the value of R is increased by 20%, I have to add this 20 to 100% times the value of R, which is 100. Since the value of R is increased by 20%, I am writing the value of R over here. Okay, so now Q is equal to 100 plus 20 will become 120% times 100. So if I convert this 100% to decimal, it will be 1.2 times 100. Then Q is equal to 1.2 times 100 will be 120. Okay, now I got the value of P and I got the value of Q. Okay, now what I need to do is I have to find P is what percentage larger than Q. First, let's find to get by what percentage P is larger than Q. First, how much actually the P is larger than Q. So to know that, we have to subtract the value of Q from P. That is, the value of P is 150 and the value of Q is 120. Okay, so P is larger than Q by 30 units because when I find the difference 150 and 120, that is the difference between the value of P and Q, it's 30. Okay, so but we have to find the percent of 30 in Q because they ask us to find P is what percentage larger than Q. So since they ask us to find the percentage on Q, we have to write the value of Q in denominator. So times 100%. So this expression gives the percentage by which P is larger than Q. So 150 negative 120 will be 30 over 120 times 100%. 30 goes into 31 times, so 30 goes into 120 4 times, and 4 goes to 4 1 times, and 4 goes to 125. So 1 times 25 is 25, so 25%. So P is 25% larger than Q. So they are asking us to compare to Q. We take the value of Q in denominator, and so the actual increment, the actual difference between P and Q is taken in numerator. So the answer for this question is 25%.